Me, 30M, with my GF's 27FE family following my sudden inheritance. Feel like my life is shattering. Where do I even begin? I'm so lost right now I don't even know how to put things into words or find a good starting point. I guess it goes with how 2 months ago, my life was exactly where I wanted it to be. I've been with the girl of my dreams, 27F, for the last 5 years. We have house, animals, both of our families get along beautifully, and honestly, the last 3 years with her and my family and her family around the holidays have been some of the most warm, fuzzy memories I've had in my entire life, and, believe me, I've been thinking about those times a lot lately. So, like I said, this problem is going to come in parts because my entire life feels like it is on the brink of completely falling apart. My mother was a very wealthy woman. Most of my life, she and I did not get along very well, but I started working in the family business roughly 5 years ago, and since then we've actually developed a great relationship. It was one of those things where, after many years of feeling that my mother hated me, she was at last proud of me and not afraid to say she loved me and valued me. Then, last month in mid-March, she passed away. I'm tearing up thinking about this as I type because I've always felt that despite her resentment towards me in my early years, I loved my mother more than anyone else in this world. I won't say much more than that. She had a hard life in spite of her wealth, and I feel I could write a whole book on our relationship. Anyway, she is gone and my siblings and I are now extremely wealthy and have taken possession of the business and all of her investments and property. If that isn't scary enough, I'm having a hard time figuring out what I need to do next. The business I was associated with I can handle, and my siblings and I have really come together on this, and they seem to trust me with that part of it. But it doesn't wash away the hurt and guilt I feel that I only got a few good years with the woman who gave me life. Anyway, my plan is to marry my GF by next year, and we've already discussed the prenup situation, which I will be getting due to my newfound wealth. She has been nothing but wonderful after my mom's death. But the problems comes in her family. I won't go into much detail, but I love these people like an extension of my own family, but they have already started trying to pry exactly how wealthy I am out of my GF, and her mom has always had a gravitational pull towards, for lack of a better term, pyramid schemes. Her first sibling, Terry, just got married and is working a fast food job. Terry and his wife have decided they will be starting a family soon and stated that they want wife to be a stay-at-home mom. This talk has only recently popped up and been brought to my attention, and I feel like I'm being paranoid, been directed at me, as there is absolutely no way they'd be able to afford this on the money they currently make or even while living in their small apartment. Like they are expecting me to help them out in a situation they are wholly unable to handle right now. Sibling no. 2. Leslie has run into some pretty serious legal trouble and is also pregnant. The father has a history of abuse and neither have steady incomes. They have recently come back into our lives after a 4-year-long absence between GF and Leslie, though. Prior to this, the two have always been extremely close, as GF is with all of her siblings, as throughout their childhood, a lot of the time all they had was each other. Sibling number 3, Casey, who I hardly ever speak to, has even started chatting me up on Facebook more than she ever has in the entire time I've known her. Is this just my brain devolving into paranoia, or is this actually happening? Like the lottery horror stories you hear where people come out of the woodwork with their hands out when they smell money on someone they know? I know for a fact my mother, for all of her faults, fell victim to this when she inherited this money. She became increasingly bitter throughout her life due to all of the husbands and friends that took advantage of her for what she could do for them. She drank herself stupid every day for 30+ years and moved through carton after carton of cigarettes and alienated her own children. I don't want to be like that. I don't want that to happen. It's been less than a month that I've had more money than I know what to do with, and I'm afraid to spend a dime or do anything with it because I feel like my GF's family is only the beginning. What's worse, and will probably make me look like a total shithead, is my GF has already committed to helping Leslie. They were close their whole lives, and with all of the legal trouble and pregnancy, GF cries at night thinking about what's happening to her. She has not asked me to help financially or anything, but I have been there every step of the way to help support them and her as best as I can. But how will it look when my GF starts giving out her money to people while I don't and get viewed as a selfish Scrooge? All of this is too much. The last 3 years were just so wonderful. So many magic trips to the beach, wonderful holidays, surrounded by not one but 2 families full of great people that accepted and loved me, and now it seems like, because I lost my mother and am getting a windfall because of it, everything is changing. I don't get to be happy with family anymore and my whole life is crashing because of this. I know this is so far beyond a first world problem. Poor baby is now a multimillionaire and is a little sad he can't have a happy Christmas, but I feel so broken. I miss my mom, I don't sleep at all, I hardly eat, and despite knowing full well the path my mother went down, I've been drinking a bit and smoking weed more than I ever had on a daily basis. In fact, My siblings seem to be coping just fine, and now I feel like everyone is out to get me. Even my GF is getting a little tired of hearing me voice my concerns over GF siblings 1 to 3 and her mom's sudden extra interest in me, which is understandable. They are all very close and take up for one another. Now, I'm even doubting myself and thinking it's all in my head, maybe too many times my mother drunkenly telling me about all the times she trusted people and was let down. I'm just so lost. Mom died. Inherited a lot of money. My entire life has been flipped upside down and not in a good way. Update: in response to the OP's post, many commentators redirected him to lottery winner post. Though the comments were related to lottery winners, a large portion of it is also relevant to people receiving windfall gains of other nature. Congratulations. You just won millions of dollars in the lottery. That's great. Now you're fucked. No, really. You are. You're fucked. If you just want to skip the biographical tales of woe of some of the math tax protagonists, skip on down to the next comment to see what to do in the event you win the lottery. You see, it's something of an open secret that winners of obnoxiously large jackpots tend to end up badly with alarming regularity. Not the $1 million winners. But anyone in the 9-figure range is at high risk. 8 figures? Pretty likely to be screwed. 7 figures? Yep. Painful. Perhaps this is a consequence of the sample. The demographics of lottery players might be exactly the wrong people to win large sums of money. Or perhaps money is the root of all evil. Either way, you are going to have to be careful. Don't believe me? Consider this. Large jackpot winners face double-digit multiples of probability versus the general population to be the victim of homicide, something like 20x more likely. Drug overdose. Bankruptcy, how's that for irony? Kidnapping. And triple-digit multiples of probability versus the general population rate to be convicted of drunk driving. The victim of homicide, at the hands of a family member, 120x more likely in this case. Ain't love grand? A defendant in a civil lawsuit. A defendant in felony criminal proceedings. Believe it or not, your biggest enemy if you suddenly become possessed of large sums of money is you. At least you will have the consolation of meeting your fate by your own hand. But if you can't manage it on your own, don't worry. There are any number of willing participants ready to help you start your vicious downward spiral for you. Mind you, many of these will be friends, friendly neighbors, or family. Often, they won't even have evil intentions. But, as I'm sure you know, that makes little difference in the end. Most aren't evil. Most aren't malicious. Some are. None are good for you. Jack Whitaker, a Johnny Cash-attired, West Virginia native, is the poster boy for the dangers of a lump sum award. In 2002, Mr. Whitaker, 55 years old at the time, won what was, also at the time, the largest single award jackpot in U.S. history, $315 million. At the time, he planned to live as if nothing had changed, or so he said. He was remarkably modest and decent before the jackpot, and his ship sure came in, right? Wrong. Mr. Whitaker became the subject of a number of personal challenges, escalating into personal tragedies, complicated by a number of legal troubles. Whitaker wasn't a typical lottery winner either. His net worth at the time of his winnings was in excess of $15 million, owing to his ownership of a successful contracting firm in West Virginia. His claim to want to live as if nothing had changed actually seemed plausible. He should have been well equipped for wealth. He was already quite wealthy, after all. By all accounts he was somewhat modest, low profile, generous and good-natured. He should have coasted off into the sunset. Yeah. Not exactly. Whitaker took the all-cash option, $170 million, instead of the annuity option, and took possession of $114 million in cash after $56 million in taxes. After that, things went south. Whitaker quickly became the subject of a number of financial stalkers, who would lurk at his regular breakfast hideout and accost him with suggestions for how to spend his money. They were unemployed. No, an interview tomorrow morning wasn't good enough. They needed cash now. Perhaps they had a surefire business plan. Their daughter had cancer. A niece needed dialysis. Needless to say, Whitaker stopped going to his breakfast haunt. Eventually, they began ringing his doorbell. Sometimes in the early morning. Before long he was paying off-duty deputies to protect his family. He was accused of being heartless, cold, stingy. Letters poured in. Children with cancer, diabetes, MS, you name it. He hired 3 people to sort the mail. A detective to filter out the false claims, and the con men and women was retained. Brenda, the clerk who had sold Whitaker the ticket, was a victim of collateral damage. Whitaker had written her a check for $44,000 and bought her house, but she was by no means a millionaire. Rumors that the state routinely paid the clerk who had sold the ticket 10% of the jackpot winnings hounded her. She was followed home from work, threatened, assaulted. Whitaker's car was twice broken into by trusted acquaintances who watched him leave large amounts of cash in it. $500,000 and $200,000 were stolen in two separate instances. The thieves spiked Whitaker's drink with prescription drugs in the first instance. The second incident was the handiwork of his granddaughter's friends, who had been probing the girl for details on Whitaker's cash for weeks. Even Whitaker's good faith generosity was questioned. When he offered $10,000 to improve the city's water park so that it was more handicap accessible, locals complained that he spent more money at the strip club. Amusingly, this was true. Whitaker invested quite a bit in his own businesses, tripled the number of people his businesses employed, making him one of the larger employers in the area, and eventually had given away $14 million to charity through a foundation he set up for the purpose. This is, of course, what you are supposed to do. Set up a foundation. Be careful about your charity giving. It made no difference in the end. To top it all off, Whitaker had been accused of ruining a number of marriages. His money made other men look inferior, they said, wherever he went in the small West Virginia town he called home. Resentment grew quickly and festered. Whitaker paid for settlements related to this sort of claim. Yes, you read that right. 4. His family and their immediate circle were quickly the victims of odds-defying numbers of overdoses, emergency room visits, and even fatalities. His granddaughter, the 18-year-old Brandy, who Whitaker had been giving a $2,100 per week allowance, was found dead after having been missing for several weeks. Her death was, apparently, from a drug overdose, but Whitaker suspected foul play. Her body had been wrapped in a tarp and hidden behind a rusted-out van. Her 17-year-old boyfriend had expired 3 months earlier in Whitaker's vacation house, also from an overdose. Some of his friends had robbed the house after his overdose, stepping over his body to make their escape and then returning for more before stepping over his body again to leave. His parents sued for wrongful death, claiming that Whitaker's loose purse strings contributed to their son's death. Amazingly, juries are prone to award damages in cases such as these. Whitaker settled. Again. Even before the deaths, the local and state police had taken a special interest in Whitaker after his newfound fame. He was arrested for minor and less minor offenses many times after his winnings, despite having had a nearly spotless record before the award. Whitaker's high profile couldn't have helped him much in this regard. In 18 months, Whitaker had been cited for over 250 violations, ranging from broken tail lights on every one of his 5 new cars to improper display of renewal stickers. A lawsuit charging various police organizations with harassment went nowhere, and Whitaker was hit with court costs instead. Whitaker's wife filed for divorce, and in the process froze a number of his assets and the accounts of his operating companies. Caesars in Atlantic City sued him for $1.5 million to cover bounced checks caused by the asset freeze. Today Whitaker is badly in debt, and bankruptcy looms large in his future. But, hey, that's just one example, right? Wrong. Nearly 1/3 of multi-million-dollar jackpot winners eventually declare bankruptcy. Some end up worse. To give you just a taste of the possibilities, consider the fates of Billy Bob Harrell, Jr. $31 million. Texas, 1997. As of 1999, committed suicide in the wake of incessant requests for money from friends and family. Winning the lottery is the worst thing that ever happened to me. William Post, $16. $2 million. Pennsylvania. 1988. In 1989, brother hires a contract murderer to kill him and his 6th wife. Landlady sued for portion of the jackpot. Convicted of assault for firing a gun at a debt collector. Declared bankruptcy. Dead in 2006. Evelyn Adams, $5.4 million, won twice, 1985, 1986. As of 2001, poor and living in a trailer, gave away and gambled most of her fortune. Suzanne Mullins, $4.2 million. Virginia. 1993. As of 2004, no assets left. Shefik Talmadge, $6.7 million. Arizona. 1988. As of 2005, declared bankruptcy. Thomas Strong, $3 million. Texas. 1993. As of 2006, died in a shootout with police. Victoria Zell, $11 million. 2001. Minnesota. As of 2006, broke. Serving 7-year sentence for vehicular manslaughter. Karen Cohen, $1 million. Illinois. 1984. As of 2000, filed for bankruptcy. As of 2006, sentenced to 22 months for lying to federal bankruptcy court. Jeffrey Dampier, $20 million. Illinois. 1996. As of 2006, kidnapped and murdered by own sister-in-law. Ed Gildian, $8.8 million. Texas. 1993. As of 2003 dead. Wife saddled with his debts. As of 2005 wife sued by her own daughter who claimed that she was taking money from a trust fund and squandering cash in Las Vegas. Willie hurt $3. 1 million. Michigan. 1989. As of 1991 addicted to cocaine. Divorced. Broke. Indicted for murder. Michael Klingbeil $2 million. As of 1998 sued by own mother claiming he failed to share the jackpot with her. Janet Lee $18 million. 1993. Missouri. As of 2001 filed for bankruptcy with $700 in assets.